right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So, as we have bid farewell to the 2024 MLB season, it's never too early to look ahead to 2025. The winter meetings are right around the corner in MLB. We got the GM meetings this week. And of course, it's all about free agency right now. And of course, some of the top free agents on the market for the winter this year in Major League Baseball, of course, you think about Juan Soto, Alex Bregman, Corbin Burns, Pete Alonso, Blake Snell, Teoscar Hernandez, Willie Adames, and Walker Bueller. You look at the Garrett Cole situation with the New York Yankees, and this was very interesting. We saw Cole opt out and basically agreed to the same deal with the Yankees without an additional year. And it's once again, if you're Scott Boras, this is once again egg on your face. And we've seen this happen more often with Scott Boras and his clients in Major League Baseball, because I really do feel that a lot of teams are getting tired of Boras and his moves as far as attempting to strong arm teams for more money. But nonetheless, one Boris client that is definitely going to get a mega deal this offseason is going to be outfielder Juan Soto. We saw him have an impact for the New York Yankees this year as they won the American League pennant. And one would think that Soto was about to cash in. One question is going to be, will Soto get at least $500 million? I truly do believe that he will, because you look at a guy that's in his mid 20s, and one would say, Soto probably gets a 10-year deal. I'm looking at it. Soto's probably going to get a 12 or 13-year deal. And it's going to come from a big market club, and it's going to come from a big market club that's going to be able to eat those last years of Soto's career when he clearly is not in his prime anymore. And he's probably going to be primarily a designated hitter at that stage of the game. But when it's all said and done, what teams can we expect to be in on Juan Soto? I think the New York Yankees are going to be in that mix. I definitely think the other team that shares a big apple, the New York Mets, are going to be in the mix for Soto. Don't be surprised if the Los Angeles Dodgers make a push. And maybe, just maybe, okay, and this is just my opinion, maybe you see a team like the San Francisco Giants or the Boston Red Sox go out there and put a feeler out for Juan Soto as well. One thing for sure, I'll tell you like this: I will be highly surprised if we see Juan Soto return to the New York Yankees, because for me, it's one of those where I do believe that the Yankees will be willing to give Juan Soto a handsome deal to remain in pinstripes. However, I do not see them matching a deal from the New York Mets, and I don't see them matching a deal from the Los Angeles Dodgers if they're serious about getting Juan Soto. Remember, Shohei deferred a lot of money, okay, for the Dodgers to keep this thing going. But nonetheless, I don't see the Yankees looking to get into a bidding war for Juan Soto's services. And, something just tells me that Steve Cohen, the Mets team owner, will not be outbid. It's one of those where Juan Soto is not the best defensive player, but he can put a team on his back offensively. And I'll tell you like this: Steve Cohen thinks like the former New York Yankees owner, George Steinbrenner. He wants stars. Okay. He wants guys who are going to come out, play, and they're going to bring people out to the ballpark when they to see them play. And I think Juan Soto definitely checks all of those boxes. So definitely it's going to be a big market club that goes out there and pursues him. Who is going to be, or who will be, the most active teams in free agency this offseason? First things first, it starts with the Dodgers. And I mean, the Los Angeles Dodgers are fresh off of winning the World Series, but do not, and I repeat, do not expect the machinery at Chavez Ravine to slow down anytime soon. Freddie Freeman's got a big deal. Shohei's got his big deal. A lot of it deferred. You've got Mookie Betts. You got Tyler Glasnow, who's returning from injury. But nonetheless, the Dodgers have basically spit into the face of the luxury tax in Major League Baseball, and they will continue to do that. Do not expect the Dodgers to slow down. The New York Mets, they have shown under Steve Cohen that they are willing to spend bread. If things don't work out with certain players, they'll move on from them. But the Mets do have a lot of money coming off of the books now. A lot of that was money for contracts got for guys such as Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer that are no longer on the team. And I guarantee you, Steve Cohen is going to be off to the races, especially due to the fact that this was supposed to be a retooling year, if you will, for the New York Mets. And they were 2 wins away from the National League pennant. So you have a general manager in David Stearns that knows how to put things together on a budget. And then you have an owner and Steve Cohen, or let me rephrase that. David Stearns is the president of baseball ops. Please forgive me. But nonetheless, you do have a team owner and Steve Cohen that will basically write a blank check to go out there and make things happen. So, nonetheless, I do expect the Mets to be very active. The Yankees will be active, but I think the Yankees are going to do it on a budget. I do believe that they have a backup plan or plans should they lose out on Juan Soto. They've already declined the option for Anthony Rizzo at first base. They still need some help in their pitching staff as well as their bullpen, but I do believe that the Yankees will be active. And another team to keep an eye on for me is the San Francisco Giants. The Giants are a big market club. They have a new president of baseball operations in Buster Posey. And Posey knows what it takes to win with the Giants. 3-time World Series champion in the Bay Area. And in recent years, we've seen the Giants go out there and attempt to pursue big time free agents. We saw them make a push for Aaron Judge. We saw how things didn't work out with Carlos Correa after he failed his physical as well. And of course, he went back to first, everybody thought he was going to the Mets, and then he went to Minnesota, back to Minnesota. I think the Giants want to once again show that they're players. And I think Posey wants to get his era in the San Francisco front office off on the right foot. So, what a better way to do that than go out there and at least make one big time move in free agency if you're the Giants? Another question: will the Texas Rangers be looking to cut payroll? And I think they are. You're hearing the reports out there. Of course, the Rangers were all in for 2023 as they won the postseason. Pardon me, won the World Series. They had to deal with a lot of injuries this past season, and you don't want to be financially, attached to a lot of guys that can't stay healthy. First things first, we've already seen Nathan Eovaldi has declined his option with the Rangers, and I think Eovaldi's going to go out there and get himself a healthy size contract to go pitch for another team. Aiden, what's going on? You're saying Soto and Alonso, please, for my Yankees. I'll tell you like this. I'm not holding out hope that Juan Soto returns to the Bronx simply because I don't see a scenario where the Yankees give him more money than either the Dodgers or the Mets would offer him. It's not going to be a situation like Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge was a homegrown guy, and Aaron Judge used the Giants to get more money out of the Yankees. Because at the end of the day, I really feel like Aaron Judge really didn't want to leave. He just wanted to be paid accordingly. And of course, the Giants did offer Judge more money, but it was all about the legacy. The Yankees made him the captain, and the rest is history. But I think if Juan Soto returns to the Yankees, I would I count me in that category of being extremely surprised for it. I think Pete Alonso could happen to the Yankees depending on what happens with the Mets. And I say this from the standpoint: will the Mets put all of their focus on Juan Soto and forget about Pete Alonso? I'm not sure. One thing is for sure, I think that the Mets do want to bring Pete Alonso back, but I feel like they want to bring him back at the right price. I don't see a scenario where you got something where the Mets are going to go out there and give Pete Alonso a 10-year deal. I think what they are going to do, because they already put the qualifying offer out there on him. I think what they are going to do, they're going to allow him to test the market and see what he can get or cannot get. And I think from there, the Mets will do their plan as far as whether they bring Pete Alonso back or not. Terrence Peters, what's going on, man? You're saying Juan Soto will go to the highest bidder. I definitely agree because if you listen to Juan Soto's press conference last week following the end of the World Series, that it was code for what this was fun. I enjoyed my year, but I'm about my money because remember this guy turned down 400 and some odd $1 million on the 13-year deal from the Washington Nationals a couple of years ago. So right off the bat, it's probably going to take 500, maybe 550 at least, to have his services going forward. Especially, he's looking at the fact that Shohei got 700. Granted, Juan Soto doesn't pitch like Shohei, uh, but nonetheless, it's a scenario where hey, it's going to take a pretty hefty price tag to get him. And I'll tell you like this: I think Juan Soto likes playing in New York, but it's one of those where just because he played for the Yankees doesn't necessarily mean that he has to come back there. And like I said before, Steve Cohen, I really do believe, is going to make Juan Soto an offer that he simply cannot refuse. Aiden, you're also saying Santander from the Orioles is a good bat as well. Um, I think I think Brian Cashman has done, and I think he will continue to do his homework this offseason because I think if you're the Yankees, you're going to have plans B, C, D, and E. Uh, already this offseason, if you're the Yankees, is off to a good start because it's one of those where you called Garrett Cole's bluff and you won. It was one of those where nobody was going to give Garrett Cole more money than he already has on his current contract. And I guess Garrett Cole and Scott Boras are trying to push the Yankees' hand, and they didn't go for it. Garrett Cole is in his mid 30s, still a very solid pitcher. But it's one of those, it leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths at this point, especially the way the game 5 ended for the Yankees. And of course, plenty of people heading into the offseason and even next year are going to be talking about the fact that Garrett Cole did not cover first base, could have gotten the Yankees out of that inning unscathed. And of course, if you're a Yankees fan, you know what came next. Um, Terrence Peters, you're saying that's why you think the Mets, why people think the Mets will be the biggest bidder. Listen, absolutely. Steve Cohen is showing in a very short period of time that what he's willing to spend the money. The other owners that don't want to spend the bread have basically added the additional level of the luxury tax, basically the Steve Cohen tax. And I mean, it's one of those where the guy spends money. I mean, you think about it. He gave the Rangers money when they took Max Scherzer. He gave the Astros money when they took the contract to Justin Verlander. He basically cut a check to Robinson Cano for nearly $40 million a couple of years ago and said, "Hey, thanks for coming. We don't need your services anymore." So it's one of those where this guy is willing to spend money. He's shown that he's going to continue to show that, and I think he's going to do any and everything possible to bring the New York Mets a World Series championship for the first time in nearly 40 years. Will it happen next year? I'm not sure, but it definitely will happen at some point on his watch. And if you're the Mets, you're in a very interesting situation because the guy who owns the team is a fan, and the guy who's running the front office, the president of baseball ops, also grew up as a fan. Very interesting scenario if you're a Mets fan. Aiden, you're saying pitching is also a priority. Need a stacked bullpen. Listen, totally agree with you there when it came to the Yankees. It's one of those where, regardless of the sport, whenever you lose, your weaknesses are always magnified. And we saw that in the World Series for the Yankees. Their pitching issues and their defensive issues. These are two categories that the Yankees are going to have to get better at. And I think they lose Soto, but you're going to have to go out there and maybe say, hey, the money that they were going to spend on Soto, maybe they could use that for multiple bats in their lineup. Also, maybe they can go out there and get multiple arms for their pitching staff. Remember, they didn't offer the qualifying offer to Gleyber Torres. I think Gleyber Torres probably played his last game for the Yankees, so that's another position that they have to fill over this offseason. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. Another team for me to keep an eye on, the Chicago White Sox. And I say this because, you heard the reports a couple of weeks ago about Jerry Reinsdorf looking into selling the White Sox. And it's going to be very interesting to see if he's truly serious about that. Because first things first, if Reinsdorf were to do that, he would walk away with a pretty penny. And I think it would be important for Major League Baseball to put the White Sox in the right hands. We're talking about one of the biggest media markets in the country, and the White Sox have been mismanaged for a very long time. You think about it, the White Sox lost 121 games last year. They were the first team since the 1962 Mets, an expansion team that year, to lose at least 120 games in the season. You think about it, the White Sox only won 41 games this past season. All MLB teams play 27 games a month. So basically, you won all your games for April and part of May, and you just mailed it in for the rest of the season. That falls into the lap of the owner, and I definitely think that the White Sox need new ownership. Will Christmas come early for the baseball fans on the south side of Chicago? We've got to wait and see. Sticking in the American League Central, will the Detroit Tigers and Kansas City Royals be able to both build off of their surprising trips to the postseason this past October? It wasn't that long ago where we saw the Royals lose 100 games, and it was just 2 years ago where the Tigers lost 96, and they showed, hey, we can get this thing turned around and get rolling. So it's going to be very interesting to see how both of these teams approach the offseason. Will it be another somber offseason for the Boston Red Sox? Hard to believe. And Aiden, I know you don't have any qualms about this as a Yankee fan, but 5 of the last 6 years have seen the Red Sox miss the playoffs. That is a lifetime for the baseball fans in the New England area. The Red Sox, after winning that World Series championship in 2018, have been operating like a small market team. And I guarantee you, the hardcore fans that follow the Boston Red Sox are sick to their stomach because guess what? Mookie Betts was an MVP for them not that long ago. The Red Sox traded him in his prime, and he has now gone on to win two more World Series championships on the left coast with the Los Angeles Dodgers, while the Red Sox are floundering in purgatory. Will Boston do something to come back to relevance this offseason? We got to wait and see. Sticking in the AL East, and Aiden, I know you're keeping your eye on this, maybe. But will the Toronto Blue Jays be buyers or sellers? And the reason why I bring that up, the Blue Jays were one of the biggest disappointments for the 2024 season. A lot of talent on that team, and they just simply mailed it in. So I want to see what Toronto does. Speaking of big market clubs, how active will the Chicago Cubs be? I mean, they spent a lot of money to get Craig Counsell to leave Milwaukee to be their manager. Very slow start for the North Siders. They turned it on at some point, but it was too little, too late. Let's see what the Cubs can do for this offseason as they look to get relevant again. But when it's all said and done, I think the biggest movers and shakers over the winter, I definitely think it's going to be the Mets, the Rangers, the Dodgers, and the Giants, all for different reasons. I think the Mets are going to go out there and make a splash and not just try to go out there and make a Juan Soto splash. They're going to go out there. They have, a lot of holes in their pitching staff right now because Jose Quintana, Sean Manaea, and Luis Severino are all free agents. I don't see the Mets bringing all of them back. I think the Mets will try to sign at least one of them. I definitely think they're going to make a push for Juan Soto. They need help in their bullpen as well. And would they allow Pete Alonso to walk? That's going to be the other $1 million question for the Mets. The Texas Rangers are definitely going to be playing let's make a deal as they try to slash payroll. You can't have an off season in Major League Baseball without the Dodgers spending money. The Dodgers are the new Yankees. The Dodgers are basically what the Yankees were 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever, when it comes to spending money in the offseason. You simply cannot have an offseason where the Dodgers don't go out there and make a move. And I think, speaking of the Dodgers, their biggest rival, the San Francisco Giants, definitely want to go out there and make some type of move. I think the Yankees will make moves, but I think they're going to be diligent in how they make said moves because they're not operating like they were the Yankees of the past. I think they'll spend the money, but they spend it a little bit more wisely. So when it's all said and done, I think this is going to be a very interesting offseason. I think all eyes are definitely going to be on Juan Soto and where he ends up, but also keep an eye out for Corbin Burns. I think he could be somebody that's on the radar of the New York Mets simply with the familiarity with the Mets general president of baseball operations, David Stearns, because he had him in Milwaukee with the Brewers. And of course, Milwaukee knew that they weren't going to sign Burns long term, which is why he basically got traded to the Baltimore Orioles. Blake Snell, another Scott Boras guy, didn't get the big contract last year in free agency, pitched 1 year with the Giants, had the opt out, exercised it. What's the winter going to be like for him? I think Teoscar Hernandez goes back to the Dodgers. I think he found a home there. I think he was loved, and I think he had some big time plays on their World Series run. Willie Adames, the Milwaukee Brewer, I don't think he returns to Milwaukee. I think somebody's going to pay him handsomely this offseason. And then Walker Bueller, fresh off of what he did in the postseason to help the Dodgers win the championship. Will it be a return to LA, or will somebody else out there give Walker Bueller an offer that he can't refuse? It's going to be very interesting. But nonetheless, like I said before, it's never too late to look ahead to the start of next season. And I think next season really starts right now. We got the GM meetings. Then, like I said, the winter meetings next month. And of course, the winter meetings are where a lot of deals will be made. I think we got teams that are going to fall in two categories. I think we got the teams that are going to make a push for Soto and let that market dictate things. And I think we also have the teams that know that they are not going to be in the run for Juan Soto, and they're going to go out there and try to make the moves that are going to fly under the radar. And I guarantee you, some of those moves that will fly under the radar will have an impact on next season. Because come next summer, we're going to see a guy that got traded, or we're going to see a guy who signed with the team, and we're like, wow, why wasn't anybody else in on this guy? And then I think some of those guys are also going to have an impact come next October as well. We see it every single year. That's the name of the game. That's all about the excitement. It's not just about the postseason excitement, it's about the excitement in the offseason in Major League Baseball, which is upon us. So buckle up for a very interesting offseason in MLB where any and everything can and will happen. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365 that you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. Aiden, definitely thank you for chiming in. Please feel free to come back and visit this channel at any time because, like I said, I'm going to be talking a lot of baseball over the next couple of months. And Terrence P, it's been a long time, my man. Good to hear from you. And I hope all is well. And like same thing with Aiden. Definitely, please feel free to come back and chime in and check out this channel. But once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off and I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.